Good morning, everyone. Let's do the prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitravarenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Astoma Satgamya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Mritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहना भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 We are going to start the third section of this chapter, and this is chapter number 4 of this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In the preceding section, this Rishi stated that the self identifies itself with the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep, and then transcends the three. And it is expressed through the word abhyam. That's what we learned in the previous section. Abhyam means fearlessness. It was also said that the self identified with the body and organs together with its accompanying factors. Indra by the name, and generally it's called Indra, has its seat in the right eye during the waking state. So that's how he tried to explain the waking state to us. And the self-identified with the heart is inwardly cognitive. So I have not started the verse yet. I'm just giving a little introduction. Okay, so we'll start with verse number 1 of this section 3. So we have a finer than that experience in the dream state. So in other words, from the grosser to the subtle to the subtler states. The self which is identified with the vital force is a mass of knowledge in the deep sleep state. And the fourth one, when self is indicated by not this, neti, neti, which is beyond the realm of all relative experiences, which has many names, but often in the Upanishads, the name is Turiya, that fourth state. And this Rishi, he called that a state Abhyam also, because there's no fear. Fearlessness. So in this section, we'll see that he's trying to explain the same self. So the self is the subject matter of discussion in this section. There is a valid reasoning being established that the self which is identified through ignorance with different states of experience is definitely different from them. Self is a non-dual. Self is infinite. And the self I'm talking about with a capital S self, the soul, the Atma. We'll see that in this discussion, it is shown that the self is the light of all lights. Because sometimes people wonder, what is the shape of this self? It's the light of all lights. It is the source of all experiences in all the other states. So that means the waking state also, dream state also, deep sleep also. And it is independent of all relative attributes and limitations, which are called upadhis. And we'll see that in this section. There is a successive analysis of the nature of the self and the upadhis, those are the limiting adjuncts. So this is what we'll see in this section. This chapter or this section, you can call it a Jyotir Brahman. Jyotir. Because this section is dealing with the Jyoti or light. And this light is not the ordinary light, but the light of all the lights. That supreme power which gives light, its power of illumination. So this name, Jyotir Brahma, is very significant because in the first 6 mantras of this section, through a progressive inquiry, we'll see that King Janak and Yajnavalkya, they come to the conclusion that the ultimate light that illumines the universe is the self, the Atam Brahm, which gives the power of revelation to the great illumination of the universe. So that means the sun also, because normally we think the sun is giving us the light, but where is sun getting the light? Or even the moonlight, the light from the fire, or even light in our speech, or light in our other organs also. This is all light. Because the inclusion of speech and other organs by this rishi prevents the possibility of mistaking the light of the Atma as something which is physical. So he is taking our attention towards that. We'll see that in these mantras, there's a comparison between the supreme and the brilliance of the sun also. Because the seers, they have described the self as more effulgent than 1,000 midday suns, all shining simultaneously. And those were the words of Arjuna also. When he saw the Virat Roop, he said it's like thousands of suns shining at the same time. That's the kind of effulgence he saw in that Virat Roop. So this is all actually a figurative description by the sages to prove the inability of human language to describe the Supreme, because the Supreme transcends all relativity and all phenomena. Because sometimes people say, explain it, define it. It cannot be defined. It can be experienced, but can never be defined. And further explaining the nature of the self, we'll see in this section where this rishi is unraveling the great mysteries hidden in the common daily experiences of all in the 3 states of waking, dream, and deep sleep states, which ordinarily go unnoticed by the non-discriminating person. Because our attention is constantly into the grosser aspect of our life. We just fail to connect with this. The self peeps through each and every thought of the mind, or even the every modifications of the intellect. And even in the grosser form, when it takes the form of speech and action in the waking and the dream state. And this rishi says in the deep sleep, When the duality experienced in the two states is absent, the individual self becomes one with the Supreme Self. And it shines in all its pristine purity. Actually, in the dream state also, because in the dream state, there are no senses working, or the objects of the waking state are not there. The self is shining clearly. And it is because of this self we experience the dream world, including our own body and mind. So you can see that this section is pretty deep. We need to go through these verses and see the connectivity also of these verses to understand it fully, what this Rishi is telling us and where is he taking us. And again, this conversation, because Rishi Yajnavalkya, he comes back. That's how this story goes. Let's look at the very first verse on page number 309 of our little book. Janakam ha vedeham Yajnavalkyo jagam sa menena vadishye iti atha yat janakasya vedeho Yajnavalkye अग्निहोत्रे समुदाते तस्मै याज्ञवल्क्यो वरम ददौ सह काम प्रसन्नम एव वत्रेः तम हास्मै ददौ तमः सम्राडेव पूर्व पप्रचः. So Yajnavalkya went to Janak. So that means he came back to the kingdom. And Janak is the emperor of Videha. He thought, I shall not say anything. Now Janak and Yajnavalkya had once talked on the Agnihotra when the Yajnavalkya had offered him a boon. Janak had chosen the right of asking him any question at will. So that was the boon, that you can ask me anything. And Yajnavalkya had granted it to him. So it was the emperor who first questioned him, because he had that boon, that you can ask me anything. So this is a very customary practice of starting the topic with the introduction of a suitable story. That what kind of a vidya is contained in it. And that's how it becomes little easy to understand these deeper subjects with the help of the story. So that's why this section starts with a conversation between King Janak and sage Yajnavalkya. And they are going to explain the nature of the transcendent light, which is the ultimate cause of all cognitions. So that's why this story goes that Yajnavalkya went to Janak, the king of Videha, for obtaining wealth and cattle. Because normally, the ashrams, they were run by these kings or the rich people. So that's why Janak gave him those cattle before too. So while starting, he decided not to have any lengthy discussion with Janak. So Yajnavalkya had a discussion with Janak on the topic of Agnihotra sacrifice in the previous section, if you remember. And he got a boon, and Janak then asked permission to put any number of questions of his option, and it was granted to him. At that time, Janak did not use that boon. Because sometimes people look for the appropriate time to get that boon. Sometimes maybe they think it's not relevant according to the occasion. So now he's finding a suitable opportunity in this present occasion. And Janak, on the strength of that boon which was granted to him, started putting a series of questions on the nature of the supreme reality. Because just like you cannot ask these deeper questions any time, you got to look at it. What is the occasion? What is the time? Is it proper or not? And that's what is happening over here. So let's look at how this conversation is starting. Mantra number 2. Yagyavalkyehe kim jyotirayam purushitihi adityehe jyotihi samraditihi hovach aditye envayam jyotish astehe palyatehe karam kurutehe viplayatiti evam etat yagyavalkyehe. What serves as a light for a man? This is the question. What serves as a light for a man? Yagyavalkya said, the light of the sun, O emperor. It is by the light of the sun that he sits, goes out, works, and comes back. It is indeed so, Yagyavalkya. Over here, the term Purusha means a person. Because we know that Purush also means Atma. But in this verse, it means a person. The being consisting of the combination of causes and effects. A person who has a head, hands, etc. It's like an ordinary person, Purush. So the discussion starts with a question by Janak as to what serves as light for this person, human being. Janak's intention in asking the simple question as to the light with the help of which a man discharges his daily duties of life. He wants to know that light, which is the ultimate cause of the phenomenal show. Rishi Yagyavalkya was very wise. He knew the purpose of the king who gave the simple, that's why he gave the simple reply first. So we'll see the progression from here. The simple answer is light of the sun. Because every person being identified with the aggregate of the body and organs has to depend on the outer light of the sun for all the movements concerning our daily duties. Sun is up, we wake up. We start doing our duties. But we know that this outer light is only temporary. It is incapable of being the cause for the functioning of the intellect. And that is what being revealed here step by step through these following mantras or further questions as well as the answers. So King Janak questioned the answer which was given by the sage and pursued the matter in the following mantras. Okay, so over here we can understand, sure, ordinary person identified himself or herself with this body will say, yeah, this light is the one which is keeping me alive, the sunlight. Because under the sun, everything grows also. We get the food also. So let's look at it, what goes next in the verse number 3. अस्तमित आदित्य याज्ञवल्क्य किम ज्योतिर्वायम पुरुषति चंद्रमा एवस्य ज्योतिर्भवति इति चंद्रमा वायम ज्योतिषस्ते पल्यते कर्म कुरुते विप्लेतेति एवं एतत् याज्ञवल्क्य. After the sun has set, Yajnavalkya, what serves as the light for a man? The moon indeed serves as his light. It is through the light of the moon that he sits, goes out, works, and comes back. It is indeed so, Yajnavalkya. So when the sun sets, we all know that moon serves as the source of light for a person to carry out his or her normal duties during night. But we all know that this light also is external to ourselves. So that's why I was telling you, this is like a questions in the progression of taking us towards the real light, who we are. Then King Janak again asked, अस्तमित आदित्य याज्ञवल्क्य चंद्रमस्य विते किम ज्योतिर्वायम पुरुषति अग्निरेवस्य ज्योतिर्भवति इति अग्नि निवायम ज्योतिषास्ते पल्यते कर्म कुरुते विप्लेतेति एवं एतत् याज्ञवल्क्य. After the sun has set and the moon has set, what serves as a light for a man? The fire indeed serves as his light. It is through the light of the fire that he sits, goes out, works, and comes back. It is indeed so, Yajnavalkya. So in the absence of both the sun and the moon, fire serves as light for him. So if there is no moonlight, there is no sunlight, we can burn the fire. On a dark night, when the sun has set and the moon also does not shine, as in the new moon night, or on a cloudy night also, we don't see moon sometimes. A person can kindle the fire, or takes a torch or some other lamp in order to do some work, go somewhere. This light also is external to us, the fire. So from the sun to the moon to the fire. Now let's see where King Janak's question goes. अस्तमितादित्य याज्ञवल्क्य चंद्रमस्य हेते शांतग्नः किम ज्योतिर्वायम पुरुषति वागेव अस्य ज्योतिर्भवति इति वाचे एव अयम ज्योतिषास्ते पल्यते कर्म कुरुते विप्लयति तस्माद्वै सम्राडिति यत्र स्वहा पानिर्नर विनिर्ज्ञायते अथ यत्र वाग उच्रति उपैव तत्र न्यय इति एवं एतत् याज्ञवल्क्य. After the sun and the moon have both set and the fire has gone out, Yajnavalkya, what serves as a light for a man? So this is King Janak asking. So Yajnavalkya says, sound indeed serves as his light. It is through the light of sound that he sits, goes out, works, and comes back. Therefore, O Emperor, even when one's own hand is not distinctly perceived, if a sound issues anywhere, one can reach there. It is indeed so, Yajnavalkya. See, ordinary person doesn't think like that. We got to have a little subtler intellect to go to that level. So when every light in the form of sun, moon, and the fire has ceased to shine, speech, which here means sound, serves the purpose of light. So in the dark room, dark place, somebody calls for us, with the help of that sound, we can connect with that person. Sound stimulates the ear, and the person, by connecting his mind with the ear, is able to know the meaning and the source of the sound and can act up to it. So that means we can understand when we connect with that sound through our mind, with the help of our ears, where the sound is coming from, and reach there. Even in pitch darkness, as on a new moon night, when the sky is full of clouds, hiding even the little light that comes from the stars, one can hear the advice of a friend and can act according to it. In pitch darkness, hearing of the sound of someone shouting at a distance, or even a barking of a dog, even that sound, a cry of a, or even a roar from some animal, one can walk towards a direction. So that's why Rishi Yajnavalkya is saying speech or sound serves here as the light for him. And sound here is only illustrative, and it's including the other objects or other senses as a smell, touch, taste, because they all stimulate their respective organs. So through these organs of sense, the mind propels the motor organs to do their respective functions in the absence of light for the eyes. And if you think about it, we have used this power of ours countless times. So now let's look at what is the next question put by King Janak. Astamit aditya, this is verse number 6. Astamit aditya yagyavalkya chandram mite shante agnyo shantyam vachihi kim jyotirvayam purush iti atamevasya jyotirbhavati iti atamvayam jyotishapte palyate karam kurute vipaleya iti. After the sun and the moon have both set, the fire has gone out, and the sound is hushed, Yajnavalkya, what serves as a light for a man? The self indeed serves as his light. It is through the light of the self that he sits, moves about, works, and comes back. Beautiful explanation for us to meditate upon also. Because in this verse, King Janak comes to the main subject which he has driving at through his earlier 4 questions. Because this is what he wanted to know. And he is referring to a condition in which a person has no external light, no sun, no moon, no fire, sound, or other objects. What is the source of light to a person while dreaming or asleep? There must be some light which enables him to visualize the dream, because there's no sun or the moon or the senses. How do we experience the joy of deep sleep? Who is awake at that time? We need to ponder upon that. Neither can it be anything pertaining to the cause and effect or subject and object relation as in the waking state. Because that's what working in the waking state. So which is the light then? So that's why this beautiful answer is given by the sage that the self indeed is his light. In the light of the self, alone does the person in dream sits, walks about, goes to work and comes back. This is being explained further in the next verse also. See, that is the beauty of these beautiful scriptures. These rishis, they have given us a wealth of knowledge in detail. But we have to pay attention, understand, and ultimately practice what they are telling us to do. Let's look at one more verse. Verse number 7. Katam atmiti yo ayam vigyan meha praneshu heyadyant jyoti purushaha sasmana sanubho lokahavanu sharatihi dhyayativ lilayativ sahi swapnoho bhutav evam lokam iti kramati mrityoho rupani. Which is the self? This entity which is reflected in the intellect, which is amid the organs, which is the self-effulgent light within the intellect, simulating the intellect. It roams between this and the next life. It thinks as it were and quivers as it were. For being one with the dreams, it goes beyond this waking world, which represents the forms of death, ignorance, and its offshoots. So this is verse number 7. We have learned that a person contains within himself the entity which serves the purpose of light for him and which is different from all outer lights. But it remains yet to be considered as to whether or not that entity, the self, is one among the several aggregates of the body. Because we have so many parts of our body. It's like a organs, vital force, mind, etc. Those are the different offshoots. So that's why King Janak is raising the question as to which self is meant by the sage. And this question is justified actually, because we all know that in ourself, in this body, there are so many limbs. We have the senses, the mind, the intellect, the ego. They all have different properties and they all have varying functions also. So that's why King Janak is asking this. Yajnavalkya replies that self is the infinite entity known as Vijnanamaya also, when it's identified with the intellect. Over here, this does not mean the modification, but it's like an abundance. In the Taittiriya Upanishad also we saw that. Abundance given to these instrument of ours. This is the essence of the Purush, which is identified with the intellect, because intellect cannot function without this light. And at the same time, the self resides among the organs. This mantra is saying, these organs cannot function without the self. So self is not identical with the organs, but it is the light within the heart. It is a light which helps these organs to function. The intellect being transparent, it's very near the self, easily reflects the sentience of the self. And this reflection is transmitted from the intellect to the mind, then to the organs, and lastly to the body. So if we take our attention towards that little image of a chariot, the charioteer who is sitting, that is the intellect. The reins, the mind. So from charioteer is holding the reins, and reins are holding the horses. And the whole chariot is being driven because of the horses. Horses take it away. So this is exactly what Yagyavallaki is explaining. The aggregate of the body and the organs, which are really inert, even though they appear sentient, but who illumines them? The self alone illumines the internal and the external objects. Without the Atma, without the self, this body, physical body, is inert. But at the same time, this intellect and the mind is also inert without the Atma. This is the point he's trying to make. It's almost like a light inside a glass globe illumines the things outside also, but the illumination you see even in inside also. So that light of the self is giving that brightness outside and inside. By assuming the likeness of the modifications of the intellect, a person moves in both the worlds. It's almost like a white crystal becomes similar in color to the color of the flower that is placed near it. That's how the pure self assumes the attributes of every internal function that comes to it. He continues his role of transmigration in this ocean of samsara. Even though the Atma is the light, but it has become a Jivatma. It just keeps on revolving. Actually, in reality, the self does not transmigrate. But to us, it seems like it's caught in the illusory attributes. It appears to move about in the same way as the moon seems to move, although it is the clouds that really move. He thinks, as it were. The self seems to think in relation to the intellect. And this is due to the illusory mutual superimposition which has been attributed in the case of relative activities. When the intellect assumes the state of dream, the self, being similar in the form of every form of the intellect, as I was telling you earlier, is like a dream object and transcends this waking world. And the light of this world sees there. It is the self which shines. Only the self. And that's why they say that this kind of a saint, this kind of a yogi, transcends the forms of death. Body, the vital force, the organs operating in the waking state are forms of death because they are continually subject to change and they exhaust our energy also. And self, who we are, is different from all of it. And next week, when we start with the verse number 8, we'll see the further explanation of the same truth which he has been given it to us in these first 6-7 verses. So again, the name of this section is Jyotir Brahma. So that's why you see that term Jyoti again and again in all these mantras. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.